Everyone loves a little alone time. Sitting in silence, eating snacks, ignoring messages like a professional. Beautiful, peaceful, stress melting. But being alone has two modes. Mode 1 is, finally. Mode 2 is, wait, I don't remember the sound of human voices anymore. The first mode is healthy. The second mode, that's when your brain starts doing backflips you did not agree to. Because when isolation creeps up slowly, or worse, when it's forced on you, your brain doesn't just get lonely. It starts changing emotionally, mentally, physically, sometimes in ways you wouldn't expect. Thoughts get louder, time gets weird, stress gets cozy inside your nervous system, and your brain slowly drifts from everything is fine to what is happening. Today, we're breaking down exactly what happens to your brain when you lose social contact, why it happens, what it does to your mind, and how it messes with everything from your mood to your memory to your perception of reality. Let's get into it.
Number 1. Your stress system smashes the panic button. The moment your brain realizes you're truly alone, not chill, normal alone, but no human contact alone, it goes into emergency mode like it just spotted a tiger sneaking into your living room. Your brain evolved in a world where isolation was a terrible sign. If you got separated from your group thousands of years ago, that wasn't self-discovery time. That was, well, something with sharp teeth is definitely about to eat me. So even today, when the only predator around is your Wi-Fi bill, your brain still reacts like you're in danger. Your stress hormones spike, your heartbeat picks up, your muscles tense. You get jumpy over nothing. Even your own footsteps sound suspicious. This is because social contact isn't just emotional, it regulates your biology. When people are around, your brain gets constant feedback that says, "You're safe. Calm down." Take that away, and your brain goes, "No feedback, must protect the human." The stress becomes chronic. Your thoughts get faster, your patience drops to zero. Your brain starts scanning the environment nonstop, even though nothing is happening. Isolation turns your nervous system into a hyper-alert security guard, patrolling an empty building, looking for threats, and finding nothing, so it decides to invent some. That's when the real chaos begins.
Number 2. Your thoughts get loud, messy, and completely out of control. When you go without social contact long enough, your brain pulls out its favorite coping mechanism, turning your thoughts into surround sound. Normally, other humans act like filters. A conversation, a facial expression, even someone saying, "Bro, chill," keeps your mind from spiraling. But without that social grounding, your brain starts having full-blown meetings with itself. At first, it's harmless. A little overthinking here, a cute existential crisis there, but then the silence stretches and stretches, and suddenly your thoughts are louder than the TV you're not even watching. You begin analyzing every tiny detail. Why did the floor creak? Why does your shadow look dramatic today? Why did you say something awkward 6 years ago? Why does your plant seem disappointed in you? Your brain becomes a bored intern looking for anything, literally anything, to interpret as important. And when the mind is desperate, everything becomes important. You start replaying memories like they're TikToks, rapid fire, out of context, and emotionally confusing. Tiny problems feel huge, small feelings feel bigger. You start having imaginary conversations with people who aren't there, arguments you'll never have, apologies you'll never give, motivational speeches no one asked for. Your inner voice becomes a full-time radio host, broadcasting 24/7, and you can't turn it off. There's no social interruption, no distractions, no human presence to cut through the noise. Without social contact, the brain doesn't get the external feedback it uses to organize thoughts. So your thoughts stop lining up properly. They start bouncing off each other like poorly supervised toddlers. You become more reactive, more sensitive, more dramatic. Even your imagination starts doing overtime. The silence becomes a blank canvas your brain aggressively paints on, filling it with fears, memories, fantasies, random ideas, and mental chaos. This is why people in isolation begin experiencing racing thoughts, emotional loops, intrusive ideas, obsessive thinking, and an increasingly loud inner monologue. Your brain is literally trying to entertain itself, but instead of telling fun stories, it opens a horror podcast in your head and forgets to invite the comedy segment. This isn't your fault, it's biology. Humans regulate their thought patterns through communication. Without that, the brain improvises. Badly. And there's a dangerous twist. When your thoughts get this loud, they start blending with your perception of reality. Which brings us to the next stage, the one where your brain stops just thinking weird things and starts seeing them.
Number 3, your brain starts bending reality. When your brain spends too long alone, without voices, faces, reactions, or any kind of social reality check, it starts taking creative liberties. Not fun, artistic liberties. More like, let's make everything feel slightly suspicious liberties. Here's the issue. Humans don't experience reality directly. We co-create it with other people. When you hear sound and ask, "Did you hear that?" Someone says yeah or no, and boom, reality confirmed. But isolation removes that second opinion. So your brain has to figure things out alone. And honestly, your brain is terrible at being alone with decisions. Suddenly, tiny sounds feel important. A creak becomes a threat. A shadow becomes a mystery. Your reflection at night becomes absolutely not. Your brain starts filling in blanks because it hates empty spaces. And empty silence? Your brain hates that the most. Without social contact, your sensory system becomes hypersensitive. You hear more, you see more, you feel more. Not because the world changed, but because your brain needs stimulation and will take anything it can get. This is why isolated people often report hearing faint knocking, thinking someone said their name, seeing movement from the corner of their eye, feeling like someone is in the room, sensing presences that aren't there. Your brain isn't malfunctioning, it's improvising. Badly. It would rather give you fake input than give you no input. Think of your brain like a bored security guard watching empty CCTV screens for hours. Eventually, they start saying, "Wait, did something move?" Even though nothing did. And when the mind is overstressed and overstimulated by silence, the imagination begins stepping into reality. Your brain starts animating things, giving meaning to random patterns, creating sounds it expects to hear, and connecting dots that don't exist. In extreme isolation, people can even experience mild hallucinations, hearing voices, seeing shapes, or feeling touches that aren't real. Not because they're losing it, but because the brain needs interaction to keep perception grounded. Without it, your sense of what's real becomes flexible, wobbly, a little too creative. Reality stops feeling solid. Time stops feeling normal. The world feels slightly off, like you're in a simulation with the graphics set to low effort. And once your brain starts bending perception, it affects something even more important: your control over your own emotions. Because when reality feels unstable, your feelings follow. Number 4, your emotions fall apart one by one. When isolation goes on long enough, your emotions stop behaving like normal emotions. They stop taking turns. They stop following logic. They just pile into your brain like an overcrowded bus and start arguing. Here's why. Humans regulate emotions through other humans. A smile, a laugh, a conversation, a hug. Even someone saying, "Bro, calm down." All of that keeps your emotional system balanced. It's like having a built-in mood stabilizer network. But when you're cut off from people, your emotions don't get feedback. There's no one to mirror your reactions, no one to interrupt your spirals, no one to remind your brain that everything is okay. So your emotional system does what any unsupervised system does. It melts. First comes irritability. Tiny things feel huge. Your patience shrinks to the size of a grain of salt. Drop your spoon, instant rage. Lose your pillow, emotional devastation. The Wi-Fi lags, the world is ending. Then comes sadness. Heavy, quiet, creeping sadness. Not dramatic movie sadness. More like everything feels gray for no reason at all. You wake up tired. You move slowly. You exist in low battery mode. Then anxiety starts knocking. Without social interaction, your thoughts spiral unchecked. Every problem feels bigger. Every silence feels suspicious. Your own heartbeat feels threatening. Your brain tries to predict danger when nothing is happening. And finally, the scariest emotional shift: numbness. When your brain can't regulate emotions anymore, it tries to protect you by turning them off. You don't feel sad or happy or excited. You just feel nothing. You float. You drift. You disconnect from your own feelings. This emotional shutdown isn't weakness. It's biology. Your brain is conserving energy because it's overwhelmed. It's trying to survive, not thrive. Prolonged emotional imbalance also reshapes the brain. The limbic system becomes hyperactive, which means more fear, more stress. The prefrontal cortex slows down, which means less focus, weaker decision-making. So your emotional brain takes over your logical brain. Feelings become louder than facts. Reactions become quicker than thoughts. The balance between emotion and reason breaks completely. And the longer this imbalance continues, the more deeply it settles in. You become more reactive, more anxious, more fragile, more disconnected. Isolation doesn't just break your mood. It rewires the emotional part of your brain to run on survival mode instead of normal mode. And once your emotions destabilize, something even more personal begins to unravel. Your actual sense of who you are.
Number 5, your sense of self starts to break down. This is the final and most unsettling effect of losing social contact. Your identity, your personality, the you inside your mind starts to fade. Humans don't build their identity alone. We build it through interaction. Every smile someone gives you, every argument, every inside joke, every "that's so you" moment, your brain uses all of that to understand who you are. But when isolation stretches too long, that feedback disappears. There's no one to reflect you back to yourself. No reactions, no facial expressions, no conversations, no "that's a good idea" or "bro, stop." Without those signals, the brain loses its mirror. And without a mirror, your sense of self slowly unravels. First, your routines stop feeling meaningful. You don't remember what you used to enjoy. Your habits feel empty. Your goals feel distant.
You stop acting like you because there's no external world reminding you how you behave. Then your personality starts shifting. People in isolation often report feeling like they're watching themselves instead of being themselves, like they're detached from their own thoughts and actions, like life becomes a slow, blurry dream with no main character. Your boundaries blur, you lose track of time, you lose track of purpose, you lose track of emotions. Days blend into each other until they don't feel like days at all. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that handles identity, planning, decision-making, and long-term thinking, becomes less active. Meanwhile, the fear and stress center, the limbic system, becomes hyperactive. So your personality shifts from thoughtful to reactive, from expressive to withdrawn, from grounded to shaky. And if the isolation is extreme, like solitary confinement, these effects become even more intense. People report forgetting how to talk normally, feeling uncomfortable around others, losing confidence, feeling paranoid in everyday situations, struggling to connect socially after release, and even changes in moral judgment and self-control. Your brain adapts to the environment you give it. If the environment is silence, stress, and loneliness, your personality rewires itself to survive in that silence. And when you return to social life, your brain doesn't instantly switch back. It has to relearn how to be human, how to interact, how to feel, how to think clearly, how to trust others again. It's like rehab, but for identity. That's why experts around the world classify extreme isolation as psychological torture. Not because it causes pain to the body, but because it slowly breaks down the mind piece by piece. In the end, the greatest danger of isolation isn't loneliness. It's losing the version of yourself that only exists when you're connected to others. Because humans don't just live together, we become ourselves together.
Thanks for watching Cool Dude Explains, where comedy meets curiosity. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your favorite myth or question in the comments. Stay curious, stay cool, and I'll see you in the next video.